advice would be to find someone who speaks your language because you
Yes.
will feel like nobody does. And
Mhm.
then you feel like the idiot because you don't
Mhm.
know, but it is up to you to be able to talk to them. It is your business, your finances. You get to know that information. This is not my inclination. My financial brain is not present most of the time. But once I started really digging in, I had to fire 3 bookkeepers before I
Wow.
found somebody who actually would talk to me and not in a demeaning way. So, getting that knowledge and that information and understanding what they needed from me, how I could be helpful to them, but also what I needed to know on a regular basis was so empowering. It's helped me forecast, it's helped me just make smarter decisions overall. So, I know everyone's reluctant, it's not their thing. Just do it. Figure it out. Just educate yourself on those things. I think it's so crucial.
All right. So, welcome to the podcast, Sarah. I'm so glad that you're able to join us this morning. How are you?
I'm great. Thank you so much for having me. I'm thrilled to be here.
So, let's jump right into it. Where are you originally from? I know you're located now in Colorado, but from what I understand, that's not your original stomping grounds.
No, I grew up in Southern California in Redlands area, Redlands and Calamasa. And I moved to Colorado. It was my dad's dream after seeing Mork and Mindy in Boulder. It was his dream to move to Colorado at some point. So he finally got a job opportunity when I was in middle school. So I've been in Colorado for most of my life at this point.
Middle school's a rough time to move. I also moved in middle school, and that's a rough one because you've got to learn how to make new friends, and such an awkward age to do
I
that.
know. I was so jealous of my brothers. I have 2 younger brothers, and one of them was in kindergarten when we moved. I thought, man, he's so lucky. He gets to just like start his whole life from scratch. I remember thinking
Yeah.
that even in 7th grade.
So, did your parents have a creative background, or were they business minded? I'm always curious for those that start their own business, what their upbringing looked like to make them jump into the crazy world of owning your own business.
That's a good question. I don't think my parents, I wouldn't say they were entrepreneurial, but they had some tendencies that took them that way. My dad had a full-time job. My mom was a stay-at-home mom. And they did a lot of fix and flips. So we didn't stay in a lot of the same houses on a regular basis. Most of my childhood I remember, spent just cleaning the house for an open house on a on a regular basis. So we would live in the house and they would sell it. We'd move on to the next. So we weren't in homes for very long. So they had some of that, a little bit of the entrepreneurial spirit in that way, but their full time gigs were not, business minded in that.
So you grew up in a family where you guys flipped houses. Do you think that that inspired some of the staging bug for you later in
It
life?
must have. I think I
Yeah.
defined myself on it at some point. It became, well, I move all the time. I love to rearrange. This is who I am. And so I think it was just an underlying piece, that carried through high school and then into college. So when I was in high school, I thought interior design seems like such a great outlet. But, being high school, I was very influenced by my friends and they were like, I'm doing design and I want to do design. I don't want to be just like part of the pack. That doesn't seem very exciting to me. So I'll do something totally different and went to school for marketing instead. So I both ruined my chances of getting um, the formal training of interior design, but it also led me to staging and then by way of that interior design eventually. So it was a different path. So I can't complain about it, but I could have just accepted it from the beginning that this was my fate.
Well, marketing is a really big part of staging, not just for your own business, but I mean, literally, it is the biggest marketing aspect of listing your home. So I'm sure there were some things that you learned in college that are benefiting you now.
It did help, but I think you're totally right. It's a nice kind of blend of the two backgrounds.
Okay. So are you the first
Mm,
one in your family to start a business?
I guess so.
Wow. That's a pretty big deal.
Yeah. And I've
Yeah.
never thought about that before.
That's a
Yeah.
huge deal. That's a
It's
really big
huh,
deal.
yeah.
I hear a lot of people who say, like, oh, I'm the first one in my family who have gone to college. But
Yeah.
in my opinion, I think starting your own business is way more scary than going to college because college is what everybody is told growing up. You got to go to college. You got to go to college. Most people, I don't think, come from a family where their families are encouraging them to start a business because it is a little bit hectic and crazy. So what inspired you to do that? Like,
I
where did that path where did it begin?
This was not what I saw for myself at all. I never would have described myself as entrepreneurial or um I just didn't have any of those in me, I didn't think. When I was 21, I was doing so terribly in college. I didn't know what I was doing. I was skipping classes. I didn't show up. I thought, I think my finals are this week. Not really sure. I was a disaster. It was not a good fit. Um, and then in when I was 21, I went to a bar, met my husband. He was living in the mountains in a small little town called Crested Butte. Um, and he talked me into moving out there. So I moved out there very quickly, maybe 2 or 3 weeks, and thought, this guy's fun. I'll hang out with him for a little while, see what's going on in the mountains. He had a really good head on his shoulders. He was a very hard worker from the beginning. It's just his nature. He is highly entrepreneurial, makes it very contagious. So after we'd been together for a little while, he started talking me into, what are some other things that you could do? What are you interested in? Design was still something that I really loved, but I couldn't get a job. This was during the recession. I couldn't get any type of job, let alone, I was not at all qualified for design because I wasn't formally trained. So I had been nannying around town a little bit. I was doing some nanny shares. That was coming to a close, and I found this very strange new business called staging just in a quick Google search, and it kind of rolled from there.
Interesting. So,
Yeah.
were you just online looking for interior design work? Like, how did you stumble on staging?
Wish I could remember the exact trajectory of that. I
Yeah.
don't recall. I remember looking around for design jobs, and I think I saw the word stager or something in one of the descriptions or something, and I thought, what is that? And this was in 2012, so
Mm,
it wasn't a time that I was very familiar with it. Our Denver market, at least, it wasn't that regular.
normal.
It was common, but not something everybody knew about. And I guess that's it triggered something for me. It's a job that I could do in the design world without any training.
And so, were you applying to work with another staging company at that point, or did you see it and you were like, okay, I could do this. I'm going to start my own thing?
Well, I thought about it. I looked at some job descriptions and I ended up just reaching out to a few local stagers. There weren't any formal jobs offered at the time. So I had seen it. So it came across my desk at some point. But then I thought, I just got to reach out to a few people around town, see if they'll chat with me, if they need any help. I didn't hear anything back. And I thought, I guess maybe this is something I could do, but it looks like a huge barrier to entry. Like, how would I actually manage this? There's so much investment that goes into this. And my husband said, I think you just need to do it. Just figure out whatever that is. But this could be a great role for you. So I had to do a lot of research. It took another maybe 6 months before I actually did anything with it. But it was trying to to manage what the inventory side looked like. So how do I get creative with this where I don't want to invest a ton? And so I found a rental warehouse. We have one here in Colorado. I started using them. I was still nannying full time at that time. So I would, try to go by at like 4:30 on a Friday, try to grab all the, furniture I needed for the Monday job. And it worked out for a little bit there. I was cold calling realtors, like, is this something you need? I could probably get a couple pieces of furniture and started going from there.
So, other than growing up in a household where you guys were moving a lot, did you have any experience or knowledge about the real estate industry at that point?
No, I knew
No.
nothing.
I love
No, I
that.
knew absolutely nothing. I was 26 at this point. I knew absolutely nothing. No, I didn't know real estate. I'd never owned a house. Was I was such a slacker. I was so lazy. I didn't do a lot. I was bad at every job I had.
Mm.
None of it was working out for me. So, yeah, no.
That's very impressive that you took a leap into something that you had no knowledge other than a love for design. Where did you go to find those first clients?
Had a couple friends who introduced me to their friend, just a couple realtors in town. They said, they might need some help. I bought one of them a coffee. Can you tell me a little bit about your business? What do you do? How do you work? Do you work with stagers? Is this even a thing that I'm interested in? And she said, yes. This one particular realtor said, I'm actually selling my in-laws house. This could be something, a good chance for you to step in and do it. So it was a rearranging situation, and it was an older couple, and this poor old man, I'll never forget him and my husband trying to carry up this giant like credenza up a flight of stairs because I insisted it needed to be in the bedroom. So I'll never forget that. Buying a couple trinkets at Hobby Lobby, just making it work. But they paid me, and it was a beautiful moment. That's when when you're getting paid
Yeah.
for it.
So the very first job that you took, you got paid.
I got paid. Yes.
Impressive. That's good.
Yes, it's like any other business. Being now having worked alongside real estate for so long, I've heard so many realtors talk about starting from the bottom. Like, we just got to do these smaller condos. We got to get these out of the way, and then we'll build up to it. But that's not how it works. Whoever you work with is going to refer within their network, and it just kind of lives
Exactly.
there forever. And then that's what you do and what you're good at and what you're referred for. So I luckily had that foresight from my husband to kind of say, this is a good launch point, but make sure that you're charging, make sure that you set appropriate boundaries for what you're doing and when you're doing it and how you're going to do it. So I had a contract, I had everything set and ready for that very first client.
Very impressive. So where did you go to get your contract? Did you make it up yourself? Did you go online and search for staging
Probably Googled
contracts?
it.
Yep.
Yep. I
And you're
don't
like,
know what
"Okay."
kind of contract I needed because I was only rearranging their stuff. And I
Right.
don't tend to do, even at this phase, I don't tend to do contracts for that type of project. Maybe I should. But yeah, I don't even remember what it said. Probably had nothing about rentals. Sure I just Googled it.
And did you take before and after photos? Was it something
No,
that you were proud of?
no.
No. Where
Still a
was
little horrified by what it
That's
was, but
okay. I think most people, I mean, your first couple of jobs are just enough to get you going, to make you wonder, is this going to be, because at that point you hadn't even staged a home. So you didn't even know if you were going to love it. You could have walked away and been like, "Oh gosh, I am never going to do this again. This is not
yes.
for me." And the fact that you were going into the occupied world right away. I have a feeling sometimes people get a little scared and I understand why you jump into occupied first, especially if you're just doing consultations and working with what they already have. But yeah, I feel like it's honestly the hardest of the services.
Well, I agree.
Yeah.
It took me a long time to realize that I needed to double charge for occupied than my
Mhm.
vacants because there are so many variables. Your stuff's going to get damaged. There's so much to work with. They are never going to have it ready for you the way that you want. It's never going to be prepared despite all the communication up front. So I learned a little too late that was something that I think needed to be a higher price than vacants.
I don't think many stagers come to that conclusion. And when you look at the ROI from the homeowner's perspective, those occupieds, they are way more valuable than the vacant stagings. I couldn't believe it. The last 2 quarters, we did the stats, and the occupied properties were just like making way more return on their investments. It's like,
I've
oh,
noticed that on my analytics too. I pulled
mm-hmm.
the RISA stats, and that was huge and super enlightening. And then I found that it actually matched on my end too, which
Isn't
is
that interesting?
fascinating.
I do think, though, that you obviously are going to notice a much more of a difference when you stage an occupied home versus a vacant home because the way we live in our home and the way we list it are totally different. So, with that being said, in the early years, can you remember like walking into any homes where you were like, I have no idea what I'm going to do here. I'm so overwhelmed. I didn't charge enough. Or have you been
Oh,
lucky?
um, I do feel like I had a pretty good foundation going into it, but of course I've had plenty of those moments.
Did you have training in the beginning or no?
No, I looked into it because I know there were quite a few offerings early on.
Did you feel like you struggled at all with some of the business aspects in the early days, not having formal training on how a staging companies run, like what the standard is, when to send the contracts? How did you figure all of that part out on your own?
Yeah, it was challenging, but I was renting. So at this
Hmm.
time and for the last 12 years until recently, I had been renting all of my furniture. So I was kind of bound by their processes. So it was actually a really nice entry point into it. They would have their rules and their boundaries, and I could just take that and say, this is what it is to my client. If I had started fresh, I probably would have been far more lenient, or I would have wanted to help more. And, I can offer all these things to you. And sure, I don't have to charge for those extra pieces. So it really caused or forced me into a very specific way of doing business. And that has really helped.
That actually makes a lot of sense, because I, like you, am a people pleaser, and I think a lot of people in this industry are. And you're so passionate about the work, and you obviously want it to look the best that you can make it. So sometimes I'm sure it's hard to not be like, "Oh, I'll do this for you. I'll throw in that. I'll bring in some extra things," when it's your own, because you don't really realize the costs associated with it. But when you're renting, there is extra costs. There's the logistics, like you said, of working with them. I never thought about it that way, but I could definitely see it now that you've said that, making you less likely to be taken advantage of.
Well, yeah,
Yeah.
exactly. I think we all have a hard time setting boundaries.
Hmm.
It's you just want to help, and you're not totally sure. You still don't have a tangible effect that you can say, "What I do will get you that." So
Hmm.
my time is worthwhile. So I think people have a hard time, stagers generally, I think we tend to have a hard time really valuing that piece of what we do. And so it just falls by the wayside as we'll throw it in as part of our service because, we're just trying to navigate this.
So being in it for 12 years now, that's a long time. What would
13
you
now.
13. Whew. It
Yeah.
goes by quick though.
Yes, it does.
What would you say has been the biggest shift in your business in the last, like, 6 years?
I started buying inventory last July. And so it's been about 14 months now with my own stuff. And what a shit show you guys are dealing with. My God, I cannot believe this industry and why people are not charging more. Like, I was already at the top of my market. Then I started buying inventory and I thought, what are we doing? This is insanity. The logistics, the time, the effort. It's so much, the risk, the overhead. I cannot believe how much is involved. I knew it because I was next to it, but I wasn't taking it on. So I have learned a lot and it's given me a whole different level of respect for our staging community generally. But that has by far been the biggest shift. I've loved it, but it's been, I'm panic buying constantly because I'm trying to do it from a financially responsible place. And I don't want to buy unless I have a job for it, which creates a very quick turnaround and a lot of panic. But it's also been highly rewarding because I am now in a good place with it. So it's been a tough year, but it's been a very profitable year and I've learned a lot. So I've really enjoyed it actually.
What made you decide to make the shift from renting to purchasing? Because that's a long time to have a certain type of business model and then just say, "Oh, now I'm gonna start incorporating my own inventory." So there must have been something that happened that made that choice for you.
It was always a thought. It was something I had always considered. It was in the back of my mind. Um, there is a real comfort with renting because I did not have to take on much. I was, just in and out on a job. I never had to go back to a warehouse. I never had to deal with any of the other extras that come with that. But I was getting to a place where I think I was being phased out a little bit and it was tougher to get the things that I needed from them and our partnership was just it was starting to rub a little raw. So
Were you
it
working with the
became time.
same, rental company for that entire time? Wow, and only exclusively with them?
Yeah.
Wow, okay.
Yeah,
That's a
and
long
they were a
time to do business with
huge help
someone.
to me. I Yes, they were a tremendous resource. And then I think at some point I think our business models just did not align and So it was time to move on. And there was just a pinch point where I needed something when I needed it to serve my clients at the expectations that they expect from me. And they couldn't provide that for me. So I just had to make a quick snap decision, and it forced me into it. It was in my head. I thought maybe this is the time. And so I had Resicon on my schedule last July. Like, I'm gonna find out everything I need to. I'm gonna dig in hard. And then, just 2 weeks before Resicon happened, I started buying for that one particular job.
Did you have an office space before that, or were you just primarily working at home since you didn't have any of the inventory?
Yeah, I've just been at home. I mean,
So then you've now
stagers
got
were all on
more.
site all the time.
Yeah. So now you've got the extra expense of storage.
So what I did was last year when I started buying, I found I just bought it. It came to my house. I assembled. I did all the terrible things. And then I installed it with just a friend of mine in a rented U-Haul, which
Mhm.
after being in it for 12 years and running a fairly luxury business, that was not gonna cut it. This is not the style of business that I do.
You don't wanna show up with a U-Haul when you're staging, like, multi-million dollar homes. That's not a good
That's
look.
it's not what I wanted to present. No, this is
Yeah.
not who I am, and not it's also not worth my time. My time wasn't well served in that moment
Mhm.
either. I also happened to slice my finger, got a nice like 8-stitch situation
Oh,
with box cutters.
I think that's kinda cool, though.
It's legit. I got a really nice scar.
Yeah.
So
N
it's a memory that I will have forever. And
From
my
the box
very
truck?
from the box truck, oh my God. I thought it was fine. I'm wrapping it up with like saran wrap, all the stuff. And I think I'm okay. My friend Carrie, who's a fellow stager, was so generous. She came to help me unload all this. So she's taking stuff upstairs, and I'm trying to bandage this thing. And I'm like, ooh, I think this is a lot worse than I thought it was. And luckily we were in a neighborhood with a lot of hospitals. So I walked about 6 blocks to a hospital, got stitched up at the ER real quick, passed out, came to, came back to the job, and finished up.
What a pro,
Like it
what a
never
pro.
happened. Oh,
The
I'll never
things that
forget.
stagers do. Yeah, right?
I know. All these tough people.
Wow. So, you did or didn't get a storage unit, or you just
Oh,
at
yes,
this
that's where I was
point.
going with that.
Yes.
I did get a storage unit after the fact. So when that came back, I I ended up getting a 10 by 30, just a little
Okay.
unit. Had some movers that would come meet me there. We'd take stuff out. And then about 3 months of that, I thought, again, this is not my business. This is so not what I'm used to, not the level of service I'm used to providing. So I ended up finding a friend of mine who is an interior designer in town. She has a larger firm, and they do their own in-house receiving.
Mm.
And her husband had started running their own warehouse, and it was kind of a new development. And I thought, man, if you guys ever need someone to do a sublease, if I can help you out on that front, it would be really nice to have a space and someone to be on site, a little bit of a warehouse manager. And so I've been in that process for about a year now. So I ended up sending all my stuff to him. Beautiful thing was I never really had to be there. I everything of all my items were in stage force, ready to go. So I could pull the jobs at home. I would just show up, I'd pack my own bins, but then the movers knew what to pull. It was just a really nice in between service. So I was able to take advantage of a specific situation without going in, jumping 2 feet into a
Mhm.
giant high overhead situation.
That's really, really, really smart and lucky that you had a friend that happened to have a space.
Timing could not have been better.
So as far as your warehouse situation goes, how did you prepare for like the extra overhead? I know you said that you made the decision and knew you were going to go to Resicon to figure it all out, but how did you do those projections to know what to expect? Did you connect with your local staging community? Were you in the Facebook groups? Because that's really, really scary to be in business for 12 years and then to decide I'm not only going to buy a bunch of inventory, rack up my, I don't know if it was a credit card, we could talk about that next, rack up some debt with some furniture, but then I have to find a place to store it. I have to find people to move it. So, how did you figure out what it was going to potentially cost you? And what did you do in advance to kind of prepare for that?
So I had a good handle on what my projects were, what I was quoting on my projects. And what I had been doing was, as I was renting, about 50% of that was going out the door anyway. So I would collect on the project, 50% goes to them for rentals and movers. So they did everything all in a house. So I knew that that was kind of my very top line budget to start. Obviously, I didn't want to land there, but I thought, if I can at least get by with making the same income, then I'm golden. That's a
Mhm.
great place to be. So I had a good handle on what those costs look like. I was able to find movers that kind of aligned with that. And then the warehouse space, it just worked out so beautifully. I feel very lucky that this it happened the way it did, but he was only charging me for what I was using when I was using it. So
Wow.
at the beginning, I really didn't have much. And then it started to roll over. And then suddenly, March and April, I had a ton, but it was also going out. So it was a very quick turnaround. So I was not, certainly not paying him any market rate anything, which worked out really nicely. But I, I budgeted based on what my jobs had been in the past and just wanted to figure out how I could structure that to keep it at least below that.
And how many jobs, were you doing when you were renting versus owning your own furniture? Are you doing more jobs, less jobs? Has it changed any of
I'm
that for
doing
you?
about the same. It has
Okay.
not changed. I was trying to be cautious with this. It's really tough because everyone, I think in the staging world, it's just go as hard and fast as you can all the time. You get the jobs, you go. I'm trying not to do that. So I
Mm.
had at one point 6 years ago when I was in labor with my daughter, I had 15 jobs one week. So we had 3 deliveries each day. I'm literally in labor this whole week, like prodromal labor. I gave birth that Friday. The whole week. It was such a disaster. I thought, I cannot do this. I had one girl working for me, so she was kind of moving around trying to help out. One client fired me during that week because I couldn't perform the way that I was trying to. Lots of factors for that, but um that was the moment that I said, I don't want to be this busy. This is
Mm-mm.
not what my life looks like, not the balance that I want. So that's when I did a significant price increase and just said, this is my new life. I want something that's little less chaotic, but still regular, and I will serve the clients that I want to serve much better. And that's been a bit of a game changer.
What did that price increase look like?
Uh, 30%.
Okay. That is a
I
decent
did it
amount.
across all services. So I got a little bit more structured on our consultation services, and you know, uh, under 5,000 square feet is one price, 5 to 10 is another price, over 10 is a third price. But I book time based on that. And so it's an hour to 90 minutes to 120. But I was able to create better boundaries with that. And then my time was, again, more effective because now I know I have only 2 hours booked for this and clients aware about the hourly rate. This is just what it is. So I did it
Prior
across all services.
prior to that, were you just charging one rate for all of your occupieds or
hmm For all of my
Mm,
consultations.
wow, okay.
Yep.
So regardless of the size of the home, it was the same rate. So if you're going into a 3-bedroom house or a 6-bedroom house, it was all going to cost the
Which is an
same.
insane way to do
Mhm.
it. But it made sense to me. I thought, how could I possibly know how long I'm going to spend there?
Right.
But then I just had to, and it still varies. I'll still get a home that's highly cluttered at 3,000 square feet or a home that's pristine at 10,000. But you just have to find a boundary and set it. And that
Mhm.
has worked really well.
What was it like when you raised your prices? Did you end up losing clients or
No.
I had a feeling you were going to say that. I talked to somebody else last week who said the same thing like, "Oh, I raised my prices to try to get rid of some of my clients, but I kept them all."
Yep, they stuck around. So
Yeah.
I guess the good news. So I that's why I'm such a proponent for increasing price.
Heck
You have to
yeah.
stay competitive, but
Yes,
increasing price is huge. Like figure
it
out what the
is.
balance is and where you want to live. Like what are you comfortable with? Are you I know our stager community, they work their butts off. These girls are on fire on a regular basis, but they're also working at a pace that I found unsustainable. So for me, it was a good choice to increase those prices, be a little more selective with the clients. So what I did lose was a lot of new clients.
Mm,
People would come to me for quotes, and I was not winning those nearly as often. But I'm much better at a 30% win rate than 100% because that's unsustainable. So that was more of how I had to reposition. I still look around and get a little self-conscious about how everyone's always busy and I'm not, and it makes me feel like I'm not doing a good job. But I just handle business in a very different way, and I'm comfortable with it.
Yeah. I think that as a society, that we are taught, like, if you're not busy, then you're not being productive, but that's not necessarily the case. Like, wouldn't it be nice if we could work less for more? Wouldn't that be nice if that was the goal instead of work, work, work,
Yeah.
work, work, work?
This
Um,
year was the first year that I have been able to take my kids to school on time and pick them up at a reasonable hour. So instead of doing our like 7:30 to 5:30s, they were doing all the before care and after care. And now I'm I've been able to cut those hours down because I'm supplementing my staging side with interior design projects that are much more flexible with how
mhm.
I work. So it's been a really nice blend.
And for somebody who at the beginning of this conversation, you were talking about yourself in a negative way, saying that you were lazy and not doing anything. It sounds like staging was the thing that took you to like, okay, now I'm going to snap out of this lazy girl mode. And
Hmm.
it had the exact opposite effect. Like, it sounds like you became a little bit of a workaholic, if I'm hearing it
Yes,
correctly.
I think you nailed it.
So, how did that look like, at home raising a family, being a workaholic? Because I know that in this industry, a lot of stagers are also parents, and I know that that can be a struggle managing both of them. So, how have you dealt with that over the years, and what advice would you have for other people who are getting into this and are possibly gonna fall into that crazy rat trap of go, 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 and never taking time for themselves?
It really is. But there's so much truth to saying it's okay to say no and find what the balance is. So I'm very protective of my weekends. I never meet a client on a weekend.
Mm.
I don't meet clients after 3 o'clock on a Friday either. There's very specific times that I will meet with clients. I'm not I might do some work on the back end on the weekend. It's admin and that type of thing. But I'm very protective of that space. And again, that's something that having the rental warehouse helped me set initially because they weren't open on weekends.
Yeah.
I couldn't deliver. It's just what it was. So it worked out. But I've held pretty strong to that because, we have soccer games now and we like to spend time at the park and we do all the fun stuff. So I want that time with them. But I also had babies strapped to me 4 days after giving birth and installing 5,000 square foot house. So
That's wild.
there's limitations to it, but it was a choice for me. It was something that I was okay with doing. I would not blame anyone for not doing that. But for me, it was something that I was comfortable doing at the time and was able to. So I did that, but then I take time off in other ways. We go skiing in the winter. So we have, 10 weekends out there where the girls do ski lessons. And so we do our 3-day weekends all winter. So I keep these time blocks very specific. I work as much as I can otherwise, but then I just have to set boundaries for myself.
Mm. Do your kids come with you ever to work? Like, what do they feel about their mom being a business owner?
No, they don't. Oh my gosh, they're so they're very sweet right now. So they're 6 and 8. And so this year I've been doing design projects for maybe 6 years at this point, and this year we got a cover feature in one of our mountain magazines,
Okay.
Colorado Homes and Lifestyles, and it was very exciting. And my daughter, my 6-year-old, she's like, "Mommy's famous now. I'm telling everybody, mommy is famous," and they love it so much. That's the thing that they hold on to, and it's really sweet to see them get excited about the accomplishments that I'm working so hard for. They don't
Uh-huh.
come with me on a regular basis, but every once in a while they have to run an errand with me, and I think they enjoy doing that. So
Yeah.
I like that they see a working mom. So
Do you think that you'll ever have them work in the business? Like,
they
is that a
better.
goal of yours for this to be a
Yep.
family affair? Yeah, I love that.
I would hope so. I don't know. I don't know. We'll see how this goes. I need one of them to be an electrician. I need
There
one
we
of them to
go.
be a wallpaper installer. I need to get them like trained first. I think that would be ideal.
An electrician for sure. That's where
Yes,
all of the real money is.
exactly. And I could really use them. I
Yeah,
have a great
right.
one, but man, that'd be awesome.
So, what would you say at this point in your business, is your biggest struggle? Is it just the inventory growth since that's where you're at right now?
Yep.
Yeah.
My husband is a financial advisor, and it
Oh,
really
lucky
puts
you.
both a benefit and a giant damper on all the fun. So
Can see
I'm
that.
always trying to balance that, which is why it's one of the reasons why I didn't buy inventory for a very long time. Because for him, he was like, this doesn't make any sense. What a crazy business. There's no tangible, this gets you that, and you're never going to, the rentals don't make sense. Like, you're always going to have to buy. How does this actually work out? I'm still figuring that out. Still not
Mhm.
totally sure. But so far, it's already been profitable. But trying to do it at a more steady pace has helped quite a bit too. I already
And
forgot your question.
are you buying inventory from wholesale or you just like Target, Home Goods, or a little bit of both?
In a pinch, I'll do retail, but I
Okay.
prefer wholesale.
Wow.
So
That's
when
pretty
I was,
impressive you jumped right into wholesale.
well, I knew it well because I was doing interior design for a little
Mhm.
while. So I was very reluctant with starting the interior design side because, again, couldn't figure out the boundaries, but then did a lot of design education, was able to figure out what that process looked like, and then was able to take on more design projects, which ultimately made the staging a lot more profitable because I could balance the two. They keep me diversified in the market. When it's slow on staging, I can be busy on design. But it introduced me to wholesale very early on. So I went to my first high point market 7 years ago because I was trying to analyze what it would look like to buy inventory from the staging front. But then I started to understand what that world looked like. So they're very separate otherwise. You wouldn't normally,
No.
it's really hard to merge the two. It's amazing what that barrier looks like.
Would you say that you are leaning more towards the design work? Like that's what you want to do more now? Or you like
I
having the
love
balance?
both.
Yeah.
I love them both.
Because they're very
They both
different.
are different beasts.
Mm-hmm.
And I said no to so much design early on. I look back and I kick myself because I was just afraid of what that looked like. But I
Right.
really did need the design education. I went through um there's a lady, her name is Sandra Funk, and she does the standard. She's phenomenal. So I did that years ago. I did design camp with IDECO,
Oh, you
and
did
I did
not.
that years ago
So
with, yes,
fun.
Lindsay Brooke. It was really fun. I met some of my best friends. We go to High Point every year together now. That's coming up. So
Yeah, I
it's
was
my
gonna ask
favorite
why
time
High
of year.
Points, because that's not your closest market,
I
is
know,
it?
it's not at all.
Yeah. When I read that you went to High Point every year, I was like, "Hold on, that's a bit of a trek." Although that
It's
is
a
one
trek.
that I really wanna go to. I haven't been there yet. It looks like a dream.
That it was a little bit more designer focused. And I
Mhm.
heard Vegas was slightly more accessory focused, like more seasonal, like shop. That was just the initial. I've now
Yeah.
been to Vegas and I know otherwise, but I could see why that was maybe the feedback. But High Point is a town of furniture. Like,
Yes.
it's the most beautiful thing I've ever seen. You just you walk down, you think it's a bank and it's a furniture store. You think it's a pub and it's a furniture store.
Yep.
Everything is just furniture. It's so built for designers. We get a lot of the headquarters like Universal and iColts. They just have the most beautiful buildings. Varela, oh my gosh, everything is just,
Beautiful.
it's stunning. And
Yeah.
the parties are fun and the
Uh-huh.
education is fun and everybody there's a stager or a designer. In
Designer.
Vegas, they're popping in.
Yeah.
It is what it is for a weekend. It's a quick conference style thing. I just love being fully immersed in it in High Point, and that makes it so fun. We get an
So
Airbnb with all our designer friends. It's the best.
yeah, I heard that. I was just gonna say, I heard it's really hard to find a place to stay there. That a lot of the hotels are kinda crappy
Yeah,
from what I've heard. And, like, you wouldn't really wanna take your socks off walking in them, and they're really expensive. That's all I've ever heard. So, I'm glad that you're able to get an Airbnb.
we tend to book it like immediately following our trip.
I
So
bet.
we book it for the following year, and we just get ourselves a 3, 4 bedroom and figure it out.
Well, one time you're gonna have to, set a goal to be one of their design influencers that gets to go around and show all the things that you like. That would be
It'd
really
be fun.
cool. Yeah.
Yes, they have
That's
some fun people on those
they
tours.
do. I love watching all of their stories when it's high point time, so maybe I'll
And
catch
this
you
year,
on
one of
there.
them is Jewel Marlowe. I don't know if you know her,
I
but she
do.
is one of my favorite designers on Instagram. So she's this year's trend spotter. So I might
Okay.
recommend that follow.
So when you're going into high points, Is your husband, like, giving you a budget beforehand?
He has no control of this business.
Okay, so you mentioned he's a financial advisor and you don't
Yes.
advise
He
him?
we talk it's been a really good partnership in that we can talk through the goals, and
Mhm.
he puts brakes on me, but doesn't limit
Right.
anything.
Yeah.
It's a good conversation because I would otherwise probably go crazy. So he's really good at just putting brakes on, but then I have to push him on decisions sometimes. Like, this is just what I know is right for the business
Mhm.
when it's right. I think if it were up to him, I never would have started buying inventory, but he's now seeing the repercussions of that. So
Yep.
it's just a he's a really good guide in those things. But I don't always take that advice. And he only he came with me once to High Point the first year, and it was really
What a
fun, and he
mistake.
got to see it.
Oh, it was fun? My
he
husband would be like, "I
he
gotta get
loved it.
out of here."
He actually really enjoyed it. He
Good.
wouldn't go again. He said,
Yeah.
"I'm never going again." But it was a really enlightening experience for him because we're both entrepreneurs. We're
Mhm.
both business minded at this point. So all of our conversations deal around business. And so it was nice for him to see that end of things.
So, who's doing all of your accounting in your business? Are you handling all of that on your own?
Do most of it. I have a
Wow.
bookkeeper, I have a CPA,
Okay.
because we have our business and our personal side, of
Mhm.
course. So
Mhm.
my husband, I send reports to him that he confirms with the CPA. So there's a lot of moving parts with it, but I have full ownership over my accounting,
Is there
as
any
everyone should.
Yes, but also if you're terrible at it, you should work with somebody who could help you with it. Not that
Yes,
you
but
shouldn't have
find
control over it, but I mean,
and
yeah.
my advice would be to find someone who speaks your language, because you
Yes.
will feel like nobody does, and
Mhm.
then you feel like the idiot because you don't
Mhm.
know, but it is up to you to be able to talk to them. It is your business, your finances. You get to know that information. This is not my inclination. My financial brain is not present most of the time. But once I started really digging in, I had to fire 3 bookkeepers before I
Wow.
found somebody who actually would talk to me and not in a demeaning way. So, getting that knowledge and that information and understanding what they needed from me, how I could be helpful to them, but also what I needed to know on a regular basis, was so empowering. It's helped me forecast, it's helped me just make smarter decisions overall. So, I know everyone's reluctant, it's not their thing. Just do it. Figure it out. Just educate yourself on those things. I think it's so crucial.
Were you doing that from the very beginning?
No.
When did you
I mean,
realize you needed
I
to
I
learn
was doing my
this?
own. So
Mhm.
my husband had a couple businesses previously too. So
Mhm.
he had those connections. We already had a bookkeeper, we already had a CPA. I just found that the ones he was working with, they speak different languages than I was speaking. So I needed to find someone who would talk to me the way I needed to be talked to. So it just took some effort, but eventually found one.
So then who was your first hire? Because it's usually I hear like a bookkeeper or an assistant. So which route did you go?
It was a bookkeeper.
Okay.
I think that is helpful.
Yeah.
But then it was a design assistant
Okay.
about
And
6 years ago.
do you have anybody working with you now in that
Nope.
capacity? No? So you're doing
Nope.
all
I'm
of
getting
this on
ready to
your
hire.
own.
Hmm.
What position are you looking to hire?
That's still the question.
Okay.
So, a couple years ago, my biggest team we were a team of 3, and I had a project manager and a full time designer. And I had to just scale back on that. I felt like I didn't have a good handle on my business. And so I went to skeleton crew and just figured it out. I'm now in this new phase where I both need help, but I want to figure it out on my own before I bring someone else into this. I don't really want the other opinions on how it should be or
Yeah.
what's working and what's not. So I've been just navigating that this year by myself. And I think the new role is someone that has to take on both design and staging side, which is a really tough blend because, again, they're two totally different animals. But we need the purchasing, procurement, and expediting on the design side. And then on the staging side, I need another body, another full time stager. I'm looking for someone that can eventually take over my role because I would like to keep kind of stair stepping the growth where it starts with staging. Now that role's kind of covered. Now I can move to design, build that to a point now where I can employ a full time designer and then just kind of work back and forth until they're at a place of growth that I'm comfortable with.
So, how many installs are you doing on your own a week now?
I do I do about 70 a year.
Okay.
They tend to be bigger houses, and I
Mhm.
certainly price on the higher end of the market.
Hey, like I said, that would be my model. I'm all about working less. So,
Yeah,
and then you could really perfect your craft and yeah, and especially
it
when
gives
you're
you
in them,
some breathing room.
it
You
does.
just have like a minute to breathe in between things, and I think that's crucial for
It is.
growth and for your brain to be able to decide where you want to go next and keep that creative side open instead of just constantly overworked.
Would you say that most of your clients that you're working with now are clients that you've been working with over and over again? Or are you still out there marketing, looking for new clients on a regular basis?
I have a really good network, but I'm always trying to grow.
Good.
It's a question of what that looks like, but
Mhm.
I'm trying to grow again in a smart way that doesn't overdo it too quickly. So I'm trying to just keep it to the clients that I want to work with. We have just some higher end developers and some good relationships that are I want just high value
Mhm.
relationships as opposed to working through regular jobs. So I still go after it when it's slower, but it's mostly recurring.
And what does your marketing look like to those reoccurring clients? Are you doing any kind of like email campaigns or are they just calling you because they constantly need your service and you don't have to market them? Are you that lucky?
Yeah. Yeah, I mean, in
Yeah,
the peak
good.
seasons, yes, but I think it's also really important to stay in front of them because
Mhm.
there's so many different touch points that we have, with the design services. A lot of our clients still don't even know that we offer that.
Mm.
So, that's something that I'm trying to push a little bit harder. But we do email campaigns. I try to do newsletters once a month, and I get great success from the newsletters. So I have a little automation that every time I talk to someone via email, they go into the newsletter. So it helps me keep track of who's going in there. But it's a pretty robust newsletter, and I
What do
just
you put
pop
in
in a
it?
blurb. It's usually a blurb about the current market, a new offering, uh, what we saw at High Point, market trends, the new paints. Also,
Fun.
I like to do things that serve our realtor clients a little bit more specifically. So, I like to talk to them and
Mhm.
how we can help them look good. So that tends to be the tone and the voice of those. But I use Squarespace and I just do marketing the email campaigns through that. Everything else is like a nice little templated item. I just kind of change out photos, but looks like a nice long newsletter, but it's really just that blurb that I end up editing.
And are you editing and managing your website on your own too? Look at you doing it all. How do you find time to sleep?
Leave. I just wake up in a panic at 3 a.m. every day.
And not only are you managing a business, running a family, you're also a part of your local chapter for RISA, right?
Yep.
So, how did you get involved with that?
Looking for some camaraderie and advice that I could find in the professional world. So the first event I went to was um, 3 years ago, maybe at this point. Our president was Jenna Tack, who's
Hmm.
a lovely person and just such an intense hard worker. And she was really open and welcoming and gave me great advice. And that's the first time that I felt like this is a stager that's doing what I do, and she's got a smart head on her shoulders, and this is like a real business for her. It's not a hobby. It's not a one off. So that got me re-engaged and then led to me wanting to bring more people like that with a similar mindset into our community. So I was VP of membership this year and have been, and we've been able to grow our chapter quite a bit. But I just want more of that because that's how we actually work well together is when we're all doing it from a business perspective.
Yeah. And for those people who are listening and thinking, like, why would I connect, engage, network with my competitors? What would you say to them?
If there can be this many realtors in the world that are doing business, there can be this very slim amount of stagers. There are not many of us. And even if that grows significantly, our motto in our chapter is there's enough to go around. And it's just really crucial that we price accordingly, that we educate our market about it, because the more we educate, the more business there will be for others too. So I see it as more of um, recurring effect.
I agree. And I think that when agents see a group of professionals who are engaging in ethical businesses, who belong to their trade association, they get it because most of them also are realtors belonging to NAR. So it sets you apart in that way versus the hobbyists who may not join RISA.
So true.
So I think that that also makes a big difference. And I think the biggest difference to your point is like educating everybody on a local level of what is standard, what should be standard. Let's all make sure that we're making money. Let's make sure we're profitable. Let's make sure we're using contracts. Let's make sure, all of
Yes,
the
please.
things, yeah, that make you a professional. Let's make sure everybody understands that because when you were starting out, you didn't know all of those little things. You didn't have a place to go to find those resources, and I feel like your chapter specifically, wow. I mean, just watching you guys grow over the last few years, you could tell that you are a great community, that you really, really heavily depend on each other, and you have fun. I mean, every time I
We
see
have
your
the
guys'
best time.
posts, I'm like, I want to be there. They look like they're having a good time.
We have such a good crew. I don't know how we lucked out with this, but everyone is fully involved. We're not competitive. We have one of our big improvements this year, just this very minor thing that I thought, can we stop sending emails to each other? Can we just get on Slack? Like, let's
Mm,
just create a bunch of channels and just, hammer out just the tiny details. Can someone take this job? Does someone have an extra dining table? And that stuff was just, it's been so helpful to me, especially. I've really benefited from that just in this past year, just trying to navigate those little details like that.
yeah.
I'm panic buying everything and my dining table won't be here next week. So
So who's
we
got one
really
I
do
could
help
use?
each other.
Yeah.
Exactly. Exactly.
And also to be able to have people you could refer to. So, to your point, you're not going to say yes to every client. Not every client's going to be a fit for you, whether it be price point, the neighborhood, the personality. So, it's nice to not just say no and to be able to pass it off to somebody who is going to be able to do the job. I would say that
It's
that's another
another
really
level
big
of
benefit.
professionalism, I think, if
Yeah.
just to provide a referral that you say,
Yes.
I trust this person. I think they're a better fit for your project.
I agree.
That's a beautiful thing.
There's nothing worse than going to a service provider, and looking for them for service and then them just telling you no without giving you somewhere else to go. It doesn't leave a very good taste in your mouth as the consumer, I would say.
It makes you think they're coming at it from a scarcity mindset too, that they're
Exactly.
not comfortable with their own service. And so they're not going to give you another name. So I think
Yeah.
it, again, just gives you that one more level of legitimacy for here's who we are, here's what our industry looks like. It's
Mhm.
legit. So pay us appropriately. We're a part of this world. We're a partner in your marketing efforts for your properties. And I think the more we can improve that, the better.
What would you say you wish agents and homeowners knew behind the scenes that would make a big difference for you to operate your business? Like, is there anything that you're just feeling frustrated by that they just don't get? They can't seem to wrap their head around? Or are you lucky in your market where you have consumers that get staging? They're not giving you any
I think
pushback?
you don't get lucky on that. You have to train them.
You do. Yeah.
You
You
train
or
these
your
clients.
community. Yeah.
Yes,
Yeah.
yes, you and everybody else. Yes, you
Hmm.
have to train them to a certain standard of doing things. If we all do it in a way where we can't stage within a week, and I mean, maybe you can. We can't stage within a week. We need, proper prep. Know your painters can't be there while we're staging. If there's already this set thing, then they're going to come to you with their new inquiry and they already know these things. So I think it's just the communication, but you do just have to train them because, well, how would they know
Right.
if we're not telling them? So,
Exactly.
yeah,
Yeah, you
gotta
gotta
do it.
tell them how you work.
Exactly. So let's all figure out how we work together.
Exactly, and well, that's I think it's kind of the hard thing about this business too is obviously everybody has their own way of running and operating their business, and we don't want it to be an industry where everybody has to do everything the exact same way, but it is nice to have those set standards, like, we aren't going to install without payment first. No, you can't pay me when this is over. You gotta pay me now. And you're
Hmm.
gonna pay for it all. And to your point, nobody can be there while we're installing. I think those are all things that we could agree are standards. Yeah.
I completely agree.
So this year, you made the finalist list for some awards.
Yes, that was
What
so
awards?
exciting.
So I know one of them was a vacant luxury staging, and you were in
Mhm.
that list with some big time players.
I that truly, I mean, if there were ever a time to say it was an honor just to be nominated, that was like I could not put my head around that because Cheryl Eisen with IMG was one of the first and only people I could look to when I was first starting this business because nobody else was really doing it in a way that felt thought forward and looking to this legitimately, but from an interesting creative eye in the luxury space. And she was a mentor from afar for a very long time of mine. I really admired her and Jason Saft, of course. And oh my gosh, yeah, that was a really legitimizing moment for me. That felt
I
like
bet.
this is maybe a career that I can stick with.
Yeah, I've got chills now just thinking about it because I can't imagine like seeing my name next to those people's names.
I was waiting for you to call me and say, "This is not I'm so sorry, we got the wrong Sarah Lewis. This is the wrong business." I just kept waiting for that call. I thought there's no way.
So have you put out any press releases or anything to announce that you were a finalist or
I did. Yep,
okay.
after we won, I did a newsletter. I didn't do
Good.
press releases. I did one of the newsletters because again, that's my most effective communication. I get
Mhm.
really great feedback from those. I almost always get a job out of it. Um, yeah, so that one went a long way. It was
I
really
love
nice.
that. So are you
Yeah.
going to submit again next year?
I have to now. I
Right?
have to. I always thought it was like such a there was no chance. And then I was also kind of surprised with the pictures because I submitted I probably sent like 6 or 7 projects just
Mhm.
to see like
Which
I
one?
wonder if this is the vibe or
Yeah.
that's the vibe
Yeah.
because we of course do so many different styles, but so I was kind of surprised but also they were beautiful projects. But it was also because I started buying this year, buying all my inventory. That was the first time that it was all my furniture. So that was one of those moments that felt like this you are on the right path.
Yeah. Because
This
you
was a good
curated it
decision.
literally from beginning to end. It wasn't
Yeah.
like you were using what was available to you. You had the chance to go out and source all the pieces
There's a lot more blood, sweat, and tears that went
for
into
sure.
those pieces. Yes.
I love that. And it looks like you had them professionally photographed or photographed?
Yes.
Yes.
Yep.
I
So
think
if
that
it's a
makes a huge
particularly
difference.
special project, I have my photographer come in because it can be costly with our margins to bring one in on every project. I'm very curious how other stagers do that because I do think some of them bring them in every project,
Yes.
but
I think
I
a
haven't
lot of
found that to
people
be
that are doing that are
profitable.
building it into their price, and then they are using that as a value add by offering the photos to the agents as well. And if I was a stager, I would probably do that only because I see so much work. Um, and I'm lucky enough I get to see all of the photos that didn't make it too.
Yeah.
Um, but I will say the main thing I notice is the professional photos. If you look at the finalist list for the last few years, almost all of them are, you could tell they're professional photos. Um, and it's funny because we have the sold over list price club, and you could submit photos for that as well. So we could feature you on a blog or something. And then there's a link to the listing that they have to include because we verify all of the information. And when I look at the listing photos versus the photos that the stagers will submit, I'm like, why didn't you give me the one that's on the listing? That one is beautiful. And it's
It's
not to
such a
say
visual world. What are we
yes.
doing?
And you are literally preaching to agents and sellers, put your best foot out there. First impressions matter. So take that information and apply it to your own business because I I mean, I went to film school. I know how to work a camera. I have lots of expensive equipment. I still make Katie come to RisaCon to take all of our photos. There's a reason
Right.
for that
Yeah.
because she
You're a little
does it
busy when
every
you're there
day.
too. Yeah.
Hmm?
You're a little busy when you're there
Well,
too.
yeah, yeah,
There's that.
that part, especially this last year. Usually I have a little bit more free time, but yeah, just having somebody that does it all day, every day. I'm like, that's our marketing. That's what we're going to use to sell the event next year.
And having that
So
perspective too, when you bring in a photographer, when you work with them directly instead of them following you on the tail end and not knowing what that looks like, you get an idea of what they're looking for. When they go
mhm.
in and they shoot a room, are we framing out this arch? Are we are we looking through the kitchen for this angle? So that's really helped me in design too, and
Yeah.
how we lay out a room based on their perspective. So
Smart.
that's been valuable too.
Have you worked with any student photographers or are you just going to the pros?
No, I have a fabulous photographer, but she shoots all our interior design shots
Hmm.
and she's just so good. I don't know. She's so good that I can only afford to bring her in on a few
Yeah.
select staging projects, but
Yeah.
yeah, she's phenomenal.
And when you say that the real estate photography is like quite a bit different too than what you would want as a stager or as an interior designer.
Love to see these lights off. I don't know why
Mm,
everyone has to light up the whole damn town. It's very specific to that mood too, because I think we're
yes,
trying to hit a certain demographic, and so like let's tighten up the visuals here.
I
We
would
can get it a
agree.
really nice, moody, interesting personality. It doesn't have to be, again, this very specific, sterile perspective.
Sterile, yes, that's the
Mhm.
right word, sterile. It feels very sterile sometimes. Are you guys having virtual staging a lot in your market, or is that not something you're coming across?
I've seen it.
Okay,
No,
that's good.
it's here and there. I don't. I mean, it could be just not something that I'm running into with our client base, but no,
Well, you're lucky.
I know. I mean, $150 room versus a $1,000 room. I don't think we're going to be targeting the same clients
No,
either. So I
no.
I might not run into that.
Although I am seeing some stagers, even in those luxury properties, who are not staging the entire house, or
Hmm.
maybe giving some virtual renderings of a room that they did stage that has like an alternative layout or design. So I could see it working in that aspect.
I've seen a few of those too. That
Yeah,
seems. I think it can be a helpful supplement,
yeah,
but it also feels like a bait and switch
I
to
agree.
me. So
Have
I've
you
I've
ever
experienced that before.
have you been into one of the open houses where they have you wear the goggles yet?
No, I was waiting for that. I knew that was coming to
Yeah.
our industry at some point.
Oh,
I
it's
haven't
going
not
to
seen it.
Yeah, it's going to be here, I'm sure of it. I've seen some things on Instagram, some ads of companies that are trying to sell it, and we've had a few of them reach out to us.
Yeah,
Kind of interesting.
I'm curious about it too.
I've
I
never
feel
done
like
it
we can
even for the video
leverage these
games.
things.
Have you done it for the video game yet?
No.
No, me neither. I'm
No, I
afraid
get
I'll look like
car
an idiot.
sick. I don't think I can
Me
do
too.
that.
I get really car sick. So yeah, I'd
Yes.
probably throw up and
It's probably not for me.
All right. So we've been on for about an hour and a half, and I know
All
you have
right.
another appointment later today. So I have two questions to wrap up with.
Hit me.
The first one is going to be, what design trends and staging trends do you want to see go away next year?
I'm really over boucle, and it could be because I had to buy so much of it just this past year. It was my very readily available um, inventory. I'm over the boucle. I'm over white oak, but we're moving. I mean, this has been a trend for the last couple of years because of COVID. We're already moving into the heirloom style, more medium wood tones, just more collected looks anyway. So I think those have had their days, but I think they still have a place here and there. I hate
Okay.
to be too absolute about anything.
And where do you want to see yourself in the next 5 years as it pertains to your business?
I would love to have some support on both our staging and design sides of the business. So I'd like to be kind of phased out of the day to day of staging and have someone kind of ready to run that, but then have the design side running on its own as well. I would like to touch base on these, kind of keep those touch points as much as possible, but also let them grow the way they need to. I think they
And
both have a long way to go.
do you want to have like your own warehouse? Do you want to have your
Yeah,
own
that could be.
vehicle?
That's my next appointment, actually.
Oh, is
Which,
it? How funny. It could be sooner rather than later
yes,
then.
who knows? Yes, I'm in a little bit of a turning point right now, so we'll see.
Oh,
We'll see where
okay.
that goes.
That's
But
pretty exciting.
yeah,
For rent or lease or to buy?
for rent for
Okay.
now.
Yeah.
Hmm. Yeah,
When I heard, did you sit in on Kathy Hobbs? I think it was 2 years
no,
ago. She
the
did
build
the
one.
Yes.
I didn't hear that. No,
I didn't get to listen in on it, but I obviously edited the virtual one. Um, wow, what a headache.
I cannot imagine. I know my
Yeah.
friend Elisa at Linden Creek.
Yes.
That was one that she was talking about being interested in.
Mhm.
She's in such a unique phase of business too. That girl's such a badass.
Oh
But
my god, I got chills just when you said that. She is on fire.
I
I
love her.
Me too. The way her brain thinks, she is just so system oriented and she explains everything in a way that totally makes sense. Yeah, I'm obsessed with her.
She's someone I really gravitated to initially too. And again, she's one of those who's just so generous with her time and has been an amazing mentor to me just since ResaCon. So I am such a fan of what she's doing, and she's changing our industry in a really fun way.
Yeah. Well,
That's
I am
another one.
so glad that we got to meet at RisaCon.
Yes, me
And I
too.
know I've seen you and been stalking you on social media. But now that I know that you are also a Gemini like me, I could see why
Yeah.
that we were drawn to each other.
The vibe was really happening. I
Yes.
know. I love my Gemini friends. We are a
Yes.
disaster,
Mm.
but
Yes, we
it's gonna be a fun road down.
yeah, we are. A chaotic, organized mess is what I always say to my husband. And he's like the exact opposite of me. So, us Geminis, we need those men that balance us out. They're a little more
Exactly.
level headed and
I
not
know we get
all
our
over the place.
very rigid structure at home so that we can
Yes.
do whatever we need
Sounds like
otherwise.
my husband too. All right. Well, do you have any last words of advice for anybody that's listening, whether they're just getting started or they're in a transition period or
You just keep pushing through. I don't think you try to keep your eyes on your own road because there are a million ways to do it. So you got to find what works best for you. I think that's my best piece of advice. Try not to look at the other person's paper while you're trudging through.
Exactly. And on that same note, getting involved with your community for support and finding those people that, like you said, that you connect with, that you see as inspiration, that you could go to when you're struggling, because you don't have to do it alone. This business is very, very isolating. So if you have a RISA chapter near you, get involved. If you don't, get into the Facebook groups and find somebody that's speaking your language, and don't be afraid to reach out to them. That is one other thing I'll say is like, this is a very open community. So introduce yourself to people and don't do it alone because there's a lot to be learned from those that have already walked the path, like Sarah.
I think that's why ResaCon is so helpful too.
It is.
Finding that camaraderie in other markets where you can openly share and not worry about that risk. So
Yeah,
that's a huge perk too.
definitely. Well,
Great
thank you
community.
so much for spending your morning with me. I had a fabulous time and I can't wait for everybody to listen to your episode.
Thanks so much, Felicia. This was so
You're
much
welcome.
fun.
All right, everybody, signing off. Take care.